We're into segment 3, folks, on the issue of so-called mental illness, which we pointed out is a very erroneous concept. It's not an illness, it's a forgetting. Now, how in heaven's name is there going to be a correction for this? Well, let's cover the first part of it. Can you correct it yourself without God? Sorry, can't be done. Uh-oh, you're saying, and I'm in deep trouble because I might have to depend on somebody or something else, and I don't know what it is, and it scares you. And yet, what scares you even more are the feelings of the loss of the awareness of God's presence in you and as you. Because where are you going to stand? What's your foundation now? Where do you plant your feet? How'd you come into this world? Who are you? What am I? What's the meaning of it all? You're right. You don't have answers to this except to have to be dependent on the things that you're afraid of and avoid them. You're afraid of sickness because your body can get sickened. You're afraid of dying because you have no awareness of what the experience of death is. You're concerned about whether or not there is a lonesomeness, a non-existence to yourself. Scary that I just live for a short while and then I'm gone and the world goes on and I don't know and I'm not there. I've become a nothing. I don't exist. Frightening stuff. Frightening stuff. That's even more frightening than going to a God in order to hope that maybe there's still something there. Well, what brings you to God is not you. You can't bring yourself to God. You can only get scared. You can only wish or hope that there was something there that will be of help to you. Sometimes all you've got is just a fear that just plain stops you, and you don't go past that. But all of those feelings now open you up to the awareness of God's movement on it. Your movement is not dependent on you figuring out to go to God. Your movement is on God's awareness that you're in trouble and you've stopped and you don't have answers. That's what God responds to. You have now pulled away from God the blocks, the barriers, the impediments to being able to feel the experience of God in you and as you, of you feeling God as you. Nothing else but that. You have moved into the hope for that, and this is what God delivers, little bit by little bit. And the delivery system that God uses is called, begins with G, you got it, grace. That it hasn't got a thing to do with you being able to think your way to getting back to God. God delivers this to you when you are out of the way sufficiently that God does not have to oppose you or push past you. God does not do it because that's scary. That if you felt that there is some kind of a force within you that is opposing you, that is pushing you past where you want to be, that scares you to death, if you're in that position, you can't go to God with that. In fact, you'll flee from it because you still have an investment in yourself as a bodily being. And you can't give that up until God shows you you've got options. There's another you and there's another me as God. And God must move upon you in order to let go of what the world calls mental illness, but what we call is simply the forgetting of your identity and the forgetting of God's identity and the qualities of them both. So God has to move on this, and this is what he did with me. Now, I was raised in a Jewish tradition, and there was not a strong stress on God in my family as part of my upbringing. It was a loving family, that is, that my mother and father did their very best to try to be able to nurture me, and I'm very grateful for all of this, but it missed where is my foundation. I missed that. And despite being bar mitzvah, etc., there was no foundation that was given to me within the family at this point. It would only come later on. And in the absence of that, I therefore now was open myself to the feelings of anxiety, the feelings of an unworthiness, of feelings of guilt, of an uneasiness, no matter where I'm going. And what it's all based on was inside of me, I had no awareness of the existence of God or of God's qualities. And I'm dependent on this mind that feels guilty without even knowing why. The feeling I'm feeling guilty is because I replaced God with my own concepts. I'm going along in life based on what the world thinks. I adopted it, that you have to make something of yourself. You have to be something. Well, be what? I didn't have the slightest idea, except the world says, be a success, be a man, be macho, earn money, the American dream, 2 cars in the garage, and a house personally owned without a mortgage. The American dream replaces all of this, that you have to work in order to be able to be of worth. You have to be a success in order to be of worth. All of these human things that are based on survival of the fittest. No matter what the fittest have got to do, you got to do it in order to be able to even stay, quote, alive, unquote, even though life is not in the human body. But you don't know that. You just know, this is all I know about myself, is I'm a body. I got to eat, I got to survive, and I got to watch myself, because everybody's as dangerous as me, because I don't trust what people feel about me, because I don't even trust myself. And so I'm going to put that on other people as well. And so it's a world of violence, it's a world of distrust, and this is the world that gets to be a replacement. It's one heck of a replacement. And God can only move against this when you feel frantic enough, desperate enough, that you feel anxious, or you feel down on yourself. You just don't feel likable. All of this is coming from this loss of awareness of who you are. It's not a mental illness of a broken, twisted nerve. It's a broken, twisted sense of awareness of the qualities of God and of yourself. And so God must come in, which is what he did with me. And the first thing that God did with me, because I had no background in the awareness of God and its existence of God as reality, God took me out of this world. I had this moment when I'm lying in bed, and all of a sudden I am filled with the experience of being out of this world. The experience was that I felt my heart beating and reaching a tremendous crescendo, folks, of the speed of its beating and the loudness of its beating. As it speeded up, bum, 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 and then silence, and before me I saw this image of a city that was out in space, of the girders, seemingly, the foundation of that city, of it being out there, and I looked at it, and then it disappeared. A couple of days later, I have another experience in which I'm now being pulled through a tunnel, and all of a sudden I see a light at the end of that tunnel, and the light turns into the image of a symbol of the Star of David with the cross coming out from the bottom point of the Star of David. And it lasts there for a couple of minutes, and then it's gone. Did I wish for it? Did I say, okay, God, let's have some action here? Absolutely, totally unexpected. They came, delivered by grace. And from these two experiences, I become aware that what it's all about in those experiences is that I had a yearning for a world of sharing and caring for each other as a solution to the feeling that I don't feel that kind of caring and of sharing with each other. Well, we'll go further into this in the next discussion.